Okay, I need you to stop what you're doing for a second, because in the last 7 days, AI didn't just evolve, it fundamentally transformed how we're going to work, code, and solve problems that have stumped humanity for decades. OpenAI and Anthropic both dropped major coding models on the same day. Google open-sourced an AI that's rewriting genetic medicine. And oh yeah, Alphabet just casually announced they're spending up to $185 billion on AI infrastructure this year. That's more than the GDP of Hungary. For context, they spent $91 billion last year. They literally doubled down. This isn't hype. This is the infrastructure phase of the AI revolution, and if you're not paying attention, you're already behind. Let's break down what actually happened. Here's what you need to understand. We're watching AI transition from cool demo phase to actual production workhorse phase, and this past week was the inflection point. The theme, agentic AI. These aren't chatbots anymore. These are systems that can complete entire workflows autonomously. Write code, debug it, deploy it, monitor it, analyze genetic data, and predict disease mutations, manage teams of other AI agents. And here's the kicker. While the big players are racing ahead with proprietary models, we're also seeing genuine breakthroughs in open source. This isn't a winner-take-all moment. This is a Cambrian explosion. So let's get into the details, because every single one of these developments is going to touch your life in the next 12 months. OpenAI's GPT 5.3 Codex, February 5th. First up, OpenAI's GPT 5.3 Codex. Now, I know what you're thinking, another GPT update, cool. But hold on, this isn't just a better autocomplete for your code. GPT 5.3 Codex handles the entire software development lifecycle. That means it can architect solutions from scratch, write the code, identify security vulnerabilities as it writes, debug in real time, collaborate with human developers like a senior engineer. OpenAI explicitly designed this for autonomous tasks. They're classifying it as high capability, which in their framework means it can perform complex multi-step operations without human handholding. And they trained it on NVIDIA's latest systems, which tells you something about the compute power we're talking about here. This isn't running on your laptop. Anthropic's Claude Opus 4.6, also February 5th. Same day, Anthropic fires back with Claude Opus 4.6. And honestly, this might be even more impressive for enterprise use. The headline feature, 1 million token context window. For non-technical folks, that means it can process roughly 750,000 words at once. That's like reading 10 novels simultaneously and remembering every detail. But here's where it gets interesting. Opus 4.6 has adaptive thinking modes. You can tell it to work fast and cheap, or slow and thorough. It's like having effort controls on your AI. You decide the speed versus quality trade-off. And it's specifically optimized for finance and legal work. Those are trillion-dollar industries. When 78% of legal professionals are already using AI, up from 23% in 2023, you see where this is headed. Oh, and it can manage. Not just one assistant, coordinated groups working on complex projects. That's the agentic revolution in action. Moonshot AI's Kimi K2.5, January 29th. Now here's the one that should terrify the big players. Moonshot AI's Kimi K2.5. This is a 1 trillion parameter mixture of experts model, trained on 15 trillion tokens, and it's open source. Let me say that again. A model that outperforms GPT 5.2 on certain benchmarks is now available to anyone. Researchers, startups, students, whoever wants it. Kimi K2.5 excels at visual reasoning and video understanding. It uses this clever token filtering approach that makes it incredibly efficient at processing video data. And it's not just for tech companies. This is multimodal AI democratized. This is what keeps OpenAI and Google up at night, because if open source models can match or exceed proprietary performance, the entire business model shifts. But the release that might matter most in 10 years? Google DeepMind's Alpha Genome. On January 29th, they published the full research paper in Nature, the most prestigious scientific journal in the world, and open source the model weights. Alpha Genome predicts how DNA mutations will affect genetic function. Not just maybe or probably, it outperformed every previous model across 25 out of 26 evaluation metrics. Here's why this is staggering. Genetic diseases, drug development, personalized medicine. These have been bottlenecked by our inability to understand exactly what mutations do. We could sequence genomes, but we couldn't interpret them at scale. Alpha Genome changes that. And by open sourcing it, DeepMind just accelerated biomedical research globally. Speaking of which, Generate Biomedicines, an AI-driven drug company, just filed for IPO on February 5th after raising $805 million. So they have an asthma therapy in phase 3 trials that was designed using AI. This isn't theoretical. This is AI-designed drugs about to hit the market. The AI genomics revolution is here. Now, let's zoom out to the money because the numbers are insane. Alphabet's CapEx forecast, $175 or $185 billion for 2026. That's almost entirely AI infrastructure, data centers, custom chips, training systems. For context, that's up from $91 billion in 2025. They're not increasing spending. They're doubling it. Google Cloud revenue jumped 48% year over year. The AI services division is printing money. NVIDIA invested $2 billion in CoreWeave on January 26 to build more data centers. CoreWeave is a cloud provider specializing in AI compute. NVIDIA isn't just selling chips, they're funding the infrastructure to run those chips. Anthropic raised their 2026 revenue forecast by 20% on January 27th because cloud demand is through the roof. Enterprises are actually paying for this stuff. Here's what this tells us. Compute is the moat. The companies that can afford to spend hundreds of billions on infrastructure are pulling away from everyone else. This is the oil rush of the 21st century, except the oil is compute power, and it creates a real tension. How do open source models compete when training a frontier model costs hundreds of millions of dollars? Meanwhile, a CIO survey projects that AI agents will outnumber humans by 2028. Right now, there are 1.5 million agents running in production environments, many without proper monitoring. OpenAI launched Frontier on February 5th, a platform specifically for building and managing AI agents at scale. They're partnering with Uber and Oracle. This isn't a side project. This is core infrastructure. Anthropic released 11 open source plugins for Claude Cowork on January 30th. These enable multi-step task automation. You can now build custom workflows that span different tools and services. The agentic AI era isn't coming. It's already here. Okay, but let's pump the brakes for a second, because it's not all sunshine and productivity gains. The drop February 3rd, and it's sobering. Key findings. AI capabilities are improving faster than safety measures. Deepfakes and misinformation are now trivial to create at scale. Global AI adoption is massively uneven. 700 million weekly users, but concentrated in wealthy countries. Governance frameworks are lagging badly. The EU AI Act enforcement starts in August 2026, with fines up to $35 million for high-risk violations. Companies are scrambling to comply, but many don't even understand what compliance means yet. A Dared AI study from January 30th found that AI might actually impair coding skill development. If junior developers rely too heavily on AI assistance, they never learn the fundamentals. We could create a generation of developers who can't code without AI. That's not hypothetical. That's a real risk we need to address. And cybersecurity? ISACA's January Trends report highlighted that agentic AI is now being used for both offense-defense. AI-powered attacks are getting sophisticated, fast. Zero-trust architecture isn't optional anymore. The legal profession adoption stats are wild. 78% of legal professionals are using AI in 2026, but most are still using general-purpose tools like ChatGPT, not specialized legal AI. There's a massive maturity gap. ChatGPT's market share actually to 45.3% by February 5th, with Google's Gemini at 25.2%. Users are fragmenting across different models based on specific use cases. That fragmentation is healthy. It means we're past the one AI to rule them all phase. But it also means companies need coherent strategies for which AI to use when. So, where does this go? Short term, next 6 months. Enterprise adoption of specialized agents accelerates. Every major company will have AI agents handling customer service, data analysis, and basic coding. Infrastructure spending continues to surge. Expect more massive CapEx announcements. Regulatory enforcement begins in the EU, creating compliance costs, but also standards. Medium term, next 2 years, AI-designed drugs start hitting the market at scale. Alpha genome-style models revolutionize biotech. The agent-to-human ratio flips. Your company will employ more AI agents than human employees. Open-source models close the capability gap for specialized tasks, even if they can't match frontier models on everything. Long-term, 5+ years, software development fundamentally changes. Coding becomes more about directing AI agents than writing code yourself. Genetic medicine becomes personalized at scale. Your treatment plan is designed by AI based on your specific genome. The AI divide becomes the defining geopolitical issue. Countries without compute infrastructure get left behind. But here's the wild card. We don't know what happens when AI agents can coordinate at scale. OpenAI's Frontier platform enables exactly that. What does the economy look like when autonomous systems are handling 80% of knowledge work? We're building the infrastructure for that world right now. Look, I get it. This is a lot, and it's easy to get overwhelmed by the pace of change. But here's what you need to remember. This week wasn't an anomaly. This is the new normal. Major model releases, infrastructure investments in the hundreds of billions, open source breakthroughs, real-world applications in medicine and law. This is what the AI revolution looks like in practice. The companies winning right now are the ones treating AI as infrastructure, not as a feature. They're investing in the boring stuff, data pipelines, monitoring systems, governance frameworks. Because when you have AI agents outnumbering humans, you better have systems to manage them. And if you're an individual, the play is to get good at directing AI, not competing with it. Learn to use these tools, understand their limitations, and position yourself where human judgment still matters. Because that's the edge, knowing when to trust the AI and when to override it. 3 things to watch in the coming weeks. 1. DeepSeek V4 expected mid-February with major coding optimizations. 2. EU AI Act enforcement. August 2026, this will reshape how AI is deployed globally. 3. Agent deployment patterns. How are companies actually using these systems in production? The infrastructure is built, the models are ready. Now we find out what we actually do with them. If this breakdown was helpful, let me know what you want covered next week. And seriously subscribe, because this pace isn't slowing down. If anything, it's accelerating. See you in the next one.